UEFA Champions League playoff prediction part 2 time has finally come as well. Hello and welcome here to this episode of, like I said, the UEFA Champions League prediction video, as we are now in the second leg, and what a week it has been. How quick does a week go? From the hype, from the anticipation we had, obviously last week, to now this week, finally knowing who will be in that draw on Thursday. 5 o'clock at Nyon or at Monaco, the big draw, UEFA Champions League draw, that will determine who will be in the league phase and who will be playing who. So obviously we know that is big. And first of all, we need to know the 7 teams who will get there, who will join the other 28 or 29, I believe. Yeah, 29, who will join the other 29 teams who have already placed their orders, who have already put their slots in the UEFA Champions League phase. We now need to know who gets them places. So first of all, let's get straight underway, and let's now take a very long flight to deepest, darkest Kazakhstan. So just like that, we are off to deepest, darkest Kazakhstan, specifically to Almaty, which is near the border of China, for our first Champions League playoff prediction game between Kairat Almaty and Celtic. And first of all, just look at this stadium. This screams 1990 Soviet times. This really does. I mean, look at a stadium like that. It transports you all the way back to the 1990s, and here we are now at 2025, looking at the fact we may see Kairat Almaty compete in this season's Champions League, which, if you would have said that 25 years ago, that Kairat Almaty would be participating in the European Cup, you wouldn't believe what's happening. You wouldn't even believe a club in Kazakhstan would even reach this stage, but it could happen. It could happen. Specifically what happened in the first leg when they drew 0-0 in Glasgow. What a result that is for Kairat Almaty. I mean, that should be one of their greatest ever results, that. Playing a Celtic team who only just lost to Bayern Munich and drawing 0-0 at their ground. I mean, not many teams that keep a clean sheet at Celtic Park. Kairat Almaty did. And they played really well, they played really compact, and they gave Celtic one hell of a game. Now, the positive that will go to Celtic, a massive positive, is Dastan Satebiev, the main player, has been suspended because he did a stupid thing. Obviously, you might have saw in the 100th minute where he just kicked out the ball, referee gave him a yellow card. He is out for the action, which will be a real shame for him. But if Kairat Almaty will want to advance and qualify into the Champions League for the first ever time, and to be the most Eastern club to ever participate in the UEFA Champions League, then they'll have to do it the hard way, and they'll have to do it by beating Celtic. Now, Benjamin Nigren, he may be keen this second leg, however, he did play a lot of the games against Livingston. He did play a lot of minutes against Livingston in the week, so he will be hoping to show up with Dyson Maeda. The trip will be a very long trip for Celtic. I mean, they're travelling almost over 6 hours, almost 6,000 kilometres to this place, so. And like I said on the promo, it is near the border of China. If you actually look at the map of Almaty, it is right next. I'd probably say it's about 50 miles from the border of China. Which, just think about that for a second. A team that is near the border of China participating in the UEFA Champions League, a European competition, is just absurd. But it may happen. And it has a very, very strong chance of happening. And do you know what? It will be a really tough game. It will be a really tough game. But I really hope this doesn't happen. I think Celtic will go through. I just think with Celtic's quality, I think this game will go to extra time. I think Kairat Almaty will defend. They will make it a very good game. It will be 0-0, I reckon, at the end of the 90. And then I reckon Celtic will find their groove in extra time when the Kairat Almaty players are tired, and I think they will win by 2-0 Celtic. I know I obviously said they would win 4-2 Celtic before against Kairat Almaty. I was wrong. Now, if I'm wrong on this one, congratulations, Kairat, because I would love to rank you in the UEFA Champions League power rankings this season. I would love that, but I think the quality is missing when it comes to having experience, and I think Celtic have that in their locker. So that is why I'm going to say it will be 2-0 in the most populous city of Kazakhstan to Celtic, and I think the Scottish champions will be going through to that league phase. Only just, however. Only then just. From Almaty, let's take a trip west to Cyprus, to Limassol, where debutants Paphos will debut the UEFA Champions League being played here. And first of all, this is massive for the club, and similar to Kairat Almaty's case, it is massive for the country of Cyprus. Now, I think the last Cypriot team to qualify into the Champions League was Apoel, and obviously we'd know previous years, specifically the one in 2011, Apoel got all the way to the quarterfinals, where they ended up getting battered to Real Madrid, which was very unfortunate, to be fair for them, because Real Madrid are the best team in Europe, and they unfortunately lost to them. So, yeah, hopefully Paphos can, repeat that stage of going into a quarter-final, but first of all, they'll have to get past Crvena Zvezda to actually get a place in the Champions League. And first of all, they had a brilliant win away from home at the Rajko Mitic. I didn't expect them to beat Crvena Zvezda, but they did. They managed to do what you have to do when you go away in Belgrade, and that's to score a goal early. I didn't think they would score in the first minute, however, 40 seconds into a game. João Correa managed to score a goal to make it 1-0 to Paphos, and then, well, the momentum then changed. It went to Paphos' favour. Paphos ended up scoring again via a penalty to make it 2-0 to Paphos, and then the game then was a bit 50-50 in the game, and then you had Crvena Zvezda score a penalty to make it 2-1, which meant it's all to play for. It's all to play for here at the Alpha Mega Stadium. All to play for. Now, Paphos, they will want a good team. They will want a better reaction. Who knows? David Luiz might play. I doubt it, but he might do. Going off the team, though, going how they played before, then I don't think they will. But you never know. You never know when it comes to these type of games. So, yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a tricky one, as they say. It's going to be a very, very tricky game. Now, Pepe, he scored the penalty for Paphos. He scored the penalty to make it 2-0. Mohamed Tankovic, he will want to score a goal. He wants to score a goal for Paphos, and yeah, who knows? But Crvena Zvezda, they have very fond memories of winning away from home in a tie. I remember in 2018 they played RB Salzburg, and they managed to beat RB Salzburg. It was on away goal, so it was 0-0 in Belgrade and 2-2 in Salzburg, which meant on the away goal drill, Red Star Belgrade would go through. Now, the manager of that game was Vajedan Milojevic, who is the actual manager of Crvena Zvezda now, Vladan Milojevic. So, good omen, I suppose. Well, who knows? I think Marko Arnautovic will start. I think he will start maybe his first game for Crvena Zvezda this game. He was pictured training on the club's social media channel, so obviously if he can play, that would be a massive boost for Crvena Zvezda. But ultimately, what do you think the prediction will be? I know Crvena Zvezda can win. I know they've obviously signed loads of players. Who will be back? Radi Krunic, who will be big. Obviously, used to play for Fenerbahce and AC Milan. He was a good player, Radi Krunic, the Bosnian Herzegovina international. But I don't know. I feel a Paphos upset. I do. I feel that there's usually one team that comes out of the bloom and shocks everybody. I think this year will be Paphos. I think Paphos will shock everybody. And I think they will qualify into their first ever Champions League. I do. Crvena Zvezda will try and do well, but I could see this game being 0-0. I could see this game being a 0-0 scrappy game where, similar to Belgrade, Crvena Zvezda have more chances, more possession, but I think Paphos will just hold on. I think Paphos will hold on. It might be 2-1 Paphos similar, it might be 2-0, but I am going to say it will be 2-0 Paphos win, but I can also see it being a very scrappy 0-0 game, Paphos going through, but I do think, for the first time, Crvena Zvezda are good. They've obviously bought players, but they've got a better away. They've played better away than home, but I just think Paphos, there is something in the air for them to go through. Then after our trip to Limassol, let's head up north to Klagenfurt to the VfC Stadion for Sturm Graz versus Bode Glimt, and I am sorry to break it to you, this game is finished. It's quite simple as that. Bode Glimt will go through to the next round. They will go through to the league phase. If they do not manage to go through to the league phase, that is beyond embarrassing and beyond unacceptable for Bode Glimt if they lose 6-0 here, because they're not doing that. They're 5-0 up on aggregate, Bode Glimt. They're 5-0 up on aggregate. Sturm Graz might be able to give a fight, but Bode Glimt are through. I'm sorry to break it to you. Bode Glimt are probably in the draw. They've probably got the name lit up in the draw simulator when they do the draws, Bode Glimt, because they are through. They have a league place. They have a league position place staring at them because they dominated Sturm Graz at home. As per my stadion, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do that, and that is exactly what Bode Glimt did. Obviously the goals, Jan-Peter Hauger, he was involved in a bit of the play. Kasper Hura, he scored a goal. Ulrich Sortnes, he scored a goal, the midfielder. And I think the European experience from last year helped Bode Glimt get to this stage, because when they played Crvena Zvezda, they were slightly worried when they played them last season. But because of that European experience, obviously them playing in the semi-final of the UEFA Europa League, they know that Sturm Graz is pretty easy to beat, and that is exactly what they did. They were easy to beat, and they beat them by 5-0. And for me, watching the game, it was like Sturm Graz admitted defeat after the last 2 goals. The last 2 goals were absolutely comical defending, and that was why. I mean, the 5th goal, the goal that was like an own goalish, I think a Sunday League team could have probably done better defending than that. So that says it all for Sturm Graz. That is my Sturm Graz rant, because they absolutely did not deliver in this Champions League, and 5-0 down, you're out. But they'll be in the Europa League. Bode Glimt will have a massive upgrade now because of that. Because of them playing in the Europa League semi-finals and them playing in the Champions League phase this season. That will help, and Bode Glimt are through. Even though I think Sturm Graz will win this one in particular, Bode Glimt will be through. I'm gonna say it will be a 2-1 Sturm Graz win on this one, potentially 3-1. Do you know what? Let's say 3-1. Let's say it will be a 3-1 win to Sturm Graz, even though Bode Glimt are through to the Champions League phase because of that 5-0 demolition. I think Sturm Graz will win this one. I think the crowd will be on their side. They will try and want to push their side one more time, and I think they will do that to an extent. I think they will be 3-0 up. And then there will be a bit of nerves, but I think Bode Glimt will score. I think they will score in this game, and don't worry, Bode fans, you are going through to the league phase. I don't like sounding cocky like this, but when your team is 5-0 up, it's impossible not to. So Bode Glimt will be going through to the league phase. However, Sturm Graz will win this one by 3-1. After that, let's go back east this time to Azerbaijan. So here is the venue for the next game that will be played on the Wednesday, which is between Karabag and Ferencváros. And similar to the Celtic game, this will be played at 5:45 Greenwich Mean Time, which means it will be an early kickoff. So that's always fun. That's always fun. We get this and then some other games in between. But what do I think about this game? Karabag have 1 foot in the league phase. I mean, it's not like Bode Glimt where they have probably 1.5 foot in the Champions League phase. They are the favourites to go through to the next round following their 3-1 win away in Budapest to Ferencváros, which is a brilliant win for them. And if they do go through to the league phase, it would be the second time in their own history that they have achieved this status. Obviously, last time being in the 2017-18 season. So that shows how big an occasion this could be if Karabag do go through to the UEFA Champions League phase. But obviously, looking at the other side, Ferencváros, they will have to worry with defensive. I thought the goals that Qarabağ scored were very easy, more or less. However, they were very good finishes from Musa Kurbanli and Kevin Medina. Kevin Medina just decided to go for a rocket. He was there, coming off the corner, he thought, do you know what, I'm going to hit it, and it went in. And that was when it was 2-1 Qarabağ. And don't forget, that was from a centre-back who scored that, which is very impressive if a centre-back can score that. But yeah, Qarabağ have 1 foot in the Champions League next round. But this is a place where we don't know. Qarabağ got absolutely destroyed here last time out to Dinamo Zagreb. I think they lost something like 5-0 or 5-1 at their home ground. And it was probably one of the worst Champions League displays I've seen. Barring from Sturm Graz, obviously the other day against Bida Glimt. So Qarabağ are a bit like cautious in this situation. I don't really particularly blame them, because when they did play, they played poor. They lost 2-0 to Dinamo Zagreb, but it looked easy. It looked easy the way. So who knows with Qarabağ? But I think they will go through Qarabağ. I think they will go through to the league phase. I think ultimately the loss in Hungary for Ferencváros is big, and I think that will knock their confidence a little. I mean, I don't think Ferencváros have actually ever beaten Qarabağ before, so that is a good omen for Qarabağ's point of view. So what do I think the score will be? I think it will be a 2-1 Qarabağ win. I think it will be a 2-1 Qarabağ win. Obviously, history states it's either going to be a draw or a win for Qarabağ, which if that's the case, Qarabağ will go through. But I think Qarabağ will manage to win. I think they will win by 2-1, which will mean Qarabağ will be going through by 5-2 on aggregate, meaning they will continue the streak of becoming the first ever Azerbaijani side to qualify in the UEFA Champions League. Then let's go up to a club that regularly competes in the UEFA Champions League, of Club Brugge. Cometh the hour, cometh the man, and we are here in Bruges for the game between Club Brugge and Rangers. And similar to Qarabağ, Club Brugge have 1 foot in the Champions League phase. They did their job in Glasgow. They beated Rangers by 3-1. And it was very convincing too. They were 3-0 up in the space of 20 minutes, I believe, which isn't good. It isn't good whatsoever, and means you will have trouble. You will have trouble if you want to, well, go through. I mean, Brugge scored 2 goals in 7 minutes. That should say a lot, the fact that they did that. 3 goals in 19. So Rangers leak defences, and Rangers, the confidence in that Rangers camp is not good whatsoever. They drew the 3rd time in a row in the Scottish Premiership to St Mirren, which means the title's over already. I think they're like 5 or 6 points clear, Rangers already, Celtic already, and it's only 3 weeks. So I can imagine going into the latter stages, they will struggle. They will struggle a lot. And yeah, I mean, the key man who stood out for me was Brandon Mekele. He scored a goal in that game. His ratings has always been bang on when the performances in the Belgian Pro League and in the Champions League. So he is a very handy defender. Plus, you've obviously got Hans van Aken there, Christos Solis. Hans van Aken was okay. He played okay in the game. He was influential. He needed to know what to do, which helped a lot. So I think this could be a very thingy game. It could be a very, obviously, controversial game. And what doesn't help Rangers is this potentially might be the last game of the Russell Martin era. There has been heavy criticism on the Rangers fans' point of view, saying they do not want him as charge, Russell Martin. They'd rather want Steven Gerrard. But I'm not sure if that will happen. I'm not sure if that won't happen. But yeah, Russell Martin, he might end up getting sacked. I mean, it's their worst league start in 36 years for Rangers. So that shows that something needs to improve. They're already 7th. They are 6 points behind Celtic. So I'm not sure how that is going to help if they lose this game. And they will lose this game, I think. Bruges are always a solid team in the Champions League. They are a solid team. They beat Aston Villa 1-0. They were the underdogs of last season's Champions League phase, and if they can do that, then I think they will do it again. So I'm gonna say, I'm not sure if Rangers will score. They have scored in every game, so I'm going to say they will score, and I will say it will be a 2-1 Bruges win. Bruges will go through pretty comfortably. I think Bruges will know what to do. Rangers, however, will still score, but I don't think they will do much, as Rangers, I think, will fall into the Europa League again, whilst Club Bruges will be going up to that league phase positions. Taking a short trip now to the capital of Denmark, Copenhagen. Copenhagen v FC Basel is the next game we have to talk about, and I mean it was a very interesting game at the St. Jakob Park first leg. They gave it their all, both sides, Basel and Copenhagen. Basel obviously had pyro, and they had that tifo before, or curio as they call it. Copenhagen had fireworks, they had pyrotechnics, so the fans gave a good go at it. I think both sides would have wanted to win, but it was it's game on. It's game on for the second leg. It is game on, and that's what's interesting. That this leg is game on between Basel and Copenhagen. Anything can happen. Copenhagen have a good record here. They have a good record at the Teleparken. I mean, last season's Champions League proved to be that. I mean, they won the 2 games, which meant they went through to the next round. They beat Manchester United. They beat Galatasaray. That is why they got to the round of 16 2 years ago, and that was when they lost to Manchester City, unfortunately. But they gave it a good go anyway. To be honest, Copenhagen, they gave it a very good go, and that's what you want. At least if a side gives it a good go, then perfect. You've done pretty much what you want to do. So yeah, I mean, Copenhagen are a team that don't usually get to the Champions League last 16, so the fact that they did that season is big. Whilst for FC Basel, their first Champions League game in 8 years, more or less, the playoffs, they did okay. I mean, that sending off by Ajeti that didn't help, by Ajite, that didn't help, but it will affect the Basel defence, because he is the key man in their defence. So it will affect their defence a little bit, but I'm sure there will be room for improvement. I mean, they do have Nicolas Vulus, they've got Barisic, who will come in, and that defence already seems like it's improved a little bit. So yeah, I mean, Jean Shaqiri, he will want to win. He want to win this game. He was the guy that scored the penalty for FC Basel to make it 1-0 until Copenhagen scored a really good goal from Gabriel Pereira, just similar to the Cabag one, just struck it and it went in the top left of the net. So yeah, this game will be an interesting game, let's put it that way, between the two sides. Copenhagen want to get in the Champions League. If they do get in the Champions League, there will be a little bit of like the Champions League, but Copenhagen are a side that want to regularly compete in the Champions League, similar to Bruges, and Copenhagen are starting to become that team that regularly progress, regularly go through to the Champions League, have Champions League games here in Copenhagen. That is what they do. So, score predictions for this one. I thought Anthony Taylor effed it quite well, the game in Basel, and he did a good job. Obviously, they did almost score in the last minute, Copenhagen, but he ended up giving it disallowed for offside, which I thought was very close. If you look at the replay, it was very close where Cornelius' foot was. So it was a very close call. But what do I think this score will be? Basel will give it a good go, but I think Copenhagen will win this one. I think Copenhagen will win this game, and yeah, I just think they'll go through. I'm going to say it will be a confident 3-1 win to Copenhagen. Copenhagen will know how to play. They will know in the Champions League, and they will beat FC Basel. FC Basel will give it a good go. Elyounoussi obviously stood out. Mukoko stood out. He was a player that gave FC Basel that red card. So we know that they can give it a go. They can give it a go, them too. And I think they will. I think they will give it a go. And they will play very well. So that is why I'm going to say it will be a 3-1 win to FC Copenhagen. They will go through to the league phase. To conclude the trip at the westernmost point in the UEFA Champions League, Lisbon. Then the final game we have in store is off to the Stade de Luge, which is ironic because we started in the easternmost city in the Champions League. Now we are ending off in the westernmost city in the Champions League, from Almaty to Lisbon. And this is Fenerbahce and Benfica. Both sides give it a very good go in the first leg. That is why it finished 0-0. Fenerbahce could have won the game through Florentino Luis' red card that Benfica suffered around the 70th minute. But they just couldn't. They couldn't. They had that one really, really late chance from Yusuf Nesiri. However, he was caught offside, which meant the goal got disallowed. And that would have been a very, very good win for Fenerbahce if they would have scored that goal. But instead they didn't. And going to the Stade de Luge 0-0, it is a tough task. But if there's one guy that could do it, it's Jose Mourinho. He's a specialist. He's a specialist in doing most things. And he will taunt Benfica. He knows that. Obviously, he's managed in Portugal. He's managed for Porto, FC Porto. So he knows all of this taunting task, especially to Benfica. And yeah, like you say, it's all to play for. I thought a key guy in the Fenerbahce midfield, the game against Benfica, was Sofian Amrabat. He was pinging out them passes in midfield. You could see he was giving it either to maybe Archie Brown or Yusuf Nesiri or Sebastian Szymanski. He was passing it to them, all sorts of players. So Fenerbahce know Fenerbahce know who to pass it to, especially if you have Sofian Amrabat in that midfield. So yeah, that is very good. Jean Duran, he might come back. He might be back for this game. I believe he picked up a suspension against Feyenoord. Or not, I'm not too overly sure, but I think Jean Duran he may return for this one, which would be big if he can play. Jean Duran, he was key when he played for Aston Villa in the Champions League. Obviously for Al Nassr, he was also key over there. So I'm sure he could be a key player to beat Benfica. But Benfica, we know they have all of their qualities. I thought Dedic, he did okay. He had a good game against Fenerbahce. He tried to defend, hold the ball. That is why they drew 0-0. Pavlidis, he didn't really get much of the ball, to be fair. He did have a couple bright sparks here and there, but he didn't really do that much. Richard Rios, I think he started in his third Champions League game. He didn't really do much either. He picked up a yellow card in that. Richard Rios obviously is the one that had high hopes. Obviously coming from Palmeiras, a lot of clubs, a lot of the top four league were after Richard Rios. However, Benfica were the ones to snap him up, which I think is a brilliant move for Benfica, because we know what they are like with their academies. I think they sold João Felix for 100 million, and he's probably their biggest ever talent spark, and obviously sending him out to 100 million is very good going for Benfica. Benfica are regulars in the Champions League. You'd be surprised if you don't see Benfica. And what could be mad this year is if Benfica lose to Fenerbahce, there will only be one Portuguese side in the Champions League. I believe in recent years, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, we had 3 Portuguese teams competing in the Champions League. So if that goes down to 1, that will obviously not help the coefficient of Portugal, and so on. Fenerbahce, Turkey, you don't usually see 2 teams in Turkey in the Champions League. So it could be Fenerbahce and Galatasaray who do end up in the league phase, which Jose Mourinho in the Champions League would be fun. I would love to see that. And I think that's the one task what Fenerbahce told Jose Mourinho to do when he came in. Just qualify to the Champions League. That was his one major task. And I think he could do it. But I think this game will be a very, very... I think this game could be very close, you know. I think it will go to extra time, definitely. I think both sides will draw at the end. I don't think it will conclude in 90 minutes. I think this will go to extra time. I'm going to say 1-1 going into extra time. And then I think... I'm trying to think. Fenerbahce are usually good in extra time, but I think Fenerbahce's quality will... I don't know. I think there is something about them which they will go a bit tired-ish. Benfica will get a goal and they will win. They will win by 2-1 Benfica. I just think here is Stade de Luz. We don't usually lose here is Stade de Luz, and I think they will do something. The crowd will get hyped up. And I mean, you've seen good nights at Stade de Luz recently, so I think it will continue. 2-1 Benfica win. Pavlidis with a goal. Potentially Ryoshi could get on the score sheet. So who knows? But I do think Benfica will win this one. It will be a very tight game, however, go to extra time, but Benfica will win 2-1. Therefore, they will be the last side to go through to the UEFA Champions League phase. And just like that, then I will get going. And there it is. That is the end of the Champions League playoff round, which is my favourite round. I truly love this stage. And, well, we will go again next year then. We'll go again next year for Champions League playoff predictions. But first of all, the league phase will be coming up. So when that will happen, I will be doing my Champions League power rankings like I did last year, from matchday 1 to matchday 8, to determine who was the best side in the league. Then from there on, it will be predictions until the end, until the Champions League final in Budapest. So that is the place. This should be a fun year. I cannot wait. And just like that, I will see you soon for league phase action. See ya and bye-bye.